Let's get started. We got a quorum here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Ecuadorian tax webinar. This is Jessica's first webinar and only the second one for Sara. So just be gentle. My name is JJ Riesner. I'm actually from Chicago, USA. Sara is our immigration lawyer, and we've moved to Cuenca about a year ago. And let me just admit a few people in. I'll be right back. And Sara helped my husband and I got our professional visa. We've been here for about a year. I'm a management consultant by training, and in my semi-retirement life here, I help do some pro bono consulting for the local business here. We have two speakers. One, of course, is Sara, and no introduction needed because all of the people here in this webinar are Sara's clients. We originally thought we would get maybe half a client, half from non-clients, but we got so many registrations that we decided not to open that to the public. And we also invited a very special guest speaker. Her name is Jessica Figueroa. I hope I didn't butcher it. She is a CPA here in Ecuador and owns her own accounting firm. She also lived in the US, the great state of Minnesota, for 10 years, so totally bilingual, and holds both the BA and MA in accounting, auditing, and tax. We have a very fully prepared agenda for everyone, and thanks for everyone who submitted the question through the registration form. So we are going to have Jessica give us an overview of the Ecuadorian tax system. And then the personal income tax and asset reporting is the most asked tax area. So we'll dive into that right away. And quite a few people also asked about the sales IVR tax, especially given the change on how to get the refund. And that's what Jessica does on a daily basis. So she will also talk about that. And we have quite a few other taxes that's very specific to the expats and very important to the expats that include the exit tax, property tax, and some also ask the questions about starting a small business, associate taxes in Ecuador. So Sara deals with that on a daily basis. So she's going to go over that and answer questions. A few interesting taxes related to us, household workers, digital nomads, and inheritance. Also, Sara will answer that. In case we have extra time at the end of the hour, I will take some live questions. But I looked at the material they prepared. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult, but we'll make sure we get this presentation out to all of you. I also want to introduce all of you who are on the this call, and just short of 80%, the nationality is USA, a little above 10% from Canada, the rest 10% spread between China, Russia, UK, and Netherlands. We are also living across the world. Undoubtedly, we have about 50% of us joining this call from Cuenca, and 20% actually from US and Canada, either still living there, thinking about moving here, or just started the process. and a few other cities where we are from, Manta, Salinas, and Cotacachi rank the top. So all of your clients spread across the world. I also want to remind everybody that some of the questions we received more related to your home country tax laws, for example, US. So this webinar is more about Ecuadorian tax. When you do your US or Canadian taxes, make sure you consult your certified CPA in your home country. Okay. Jessica, I know your nickname is also Figured Out, so help us figure out the Ecuadorian tax system.
Thank you, GJ. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Special thank you to Sara for this kind invitation. So let's talk taxes. Here in Ecuador, we have several taxes, many in my opinion, but I will talk about the most important ones and perhaps the ones that are more relevant to you who have chosen our country to live or are thinking about coming. So it's a good decision. First, we have income taxes. That's more for individual and business taxes. We also have the sales taxes. And then here we are going to talk about the refunds. Who are beneficiaries of this, what are the requirements, as well as the process involved on requesting the refund or filing this type of tax. The other thing that I will be addressing today is the asset annexed, whether this is a subject to tax or is this compliance merely involves reporting it. It might seem like a lot, but I will try to simplify this information as much as possible and always ensuring that we are following the law. Can we please go to the next one? Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. We're good there. Sorry. In Ecuador, the tax system operates both on national and local level. The main source of revenue for the government comes from income taxes and sales taxes. And there are other taxes and fees, especially that we paid in the municipality. So income tax, residents pay this tax on all their income, and the tax year for this is January 1st to December 31st. And the deadline for income tax personal, it's March, and for corporation or business, it's April. And the due date will depend on your cedula, on the 9th digit of your cedula. That's how you will know when to file these taxes. The sales tax, it is due on a monthly basis, but some people will do it on a semi-annual base, depending on what type of business or what type of agent are they in the SRA system. And as of now, this tax is 12% and it taxes on goods and services. There are some exemptions that we will talk about a little bit. We also have the property tax. This is an annual tax on property value, and it's collected by municipalities. The reporting threshold on many of the taxes, especially on income tax and inheritance tax, will depend on the type of tax and the circumstances of the person. We will have something for you to refer to at the end. And most of the taxes are filed online on the SRA website. So it's very easy to access. We just have to request a password. It's not a big deal. So it's very easy to file taxes here in Ecuador. So can we please go to the next one? Personal income tax. I know many of us familiar with this type of tax. It is taxed on the income, mainly sourced in Ecuador. But before I dig into this tax, I would like to refer to the Constitution, which under Article 9 states that all residents in Ecuador have the same rights and same obligations as Ecuadorian citizens. And we also have an article that outlines our tax responsibilities. And some of them are submitting all the tax declaration, filing taxes on time. And if you are required to go and talk to them, you have to do it. So just something in the law for you to know that, and as I said before, everything that we will be talking about here will be in accordance to the law. In Ecuador, a person is, well, income taxes, it's based on residency and source. For a person to be considered a resident in Ecuador, they have to be in the country for 183 days or more during a calendar year. So that's one of the things to take into consideration when knowing if you have or no to file taxes. People who have an income of 11,920 or more have to file taxes. There are some deductions and there are some exemptions available. Some of these will include that there is no tax on interest you earn on a bank account. If you have a savings account in an Ecuadorian bank, that money will not have to, is not taxable. So you won't have to pay taxes on that. And we also have the CD investments. Those are tax-free as long as the investment is for or exceeds 183 days. This tax is due next month for individuals, so we start filing on March, and April for corporations. There are no extensions, so if you file this tax late, you will incur in a fine that you will have to pay. Another important point is that in Ecuador, you must file these taxes individually. It's not like you're married and you can file jointly, like I know it's in the US, for example, but here in Ecuador, you have to do it. So some of my clients, what I advise them to do is, if you are the one who has all the invoices to your name, or most of them, because some of them will only use their cellular number to, when they go to Supermaxi or when they go out, dining out. And so I will choose that person, whether it's the husband or the wife, to file this tax, and the other partner will file later, because there is a benefit. There is a 60% discount for the spouse, so they don't pay taxes twice as a couple. There are other benefits. For example, for seniors, there is a discount of one basic fraction, which is the threshold 11,920. So you have that discount if you are a senior. And if you have a disability, or for people who have disabilities, there is a discount up to 2 basic fractions, so about $20,000. And this amount depends on the percentage of the disability. So I just want to make sure we are covering all the questions that you have. So for example, the first question, yes, as long as if you are a resident of Ecuador, if you meet the residency term of 183 days, you will have to file taxes if you meet the requirements. I think we also covered some questions about CDs and the minimum income taxes. So can we please go to the next slide?
Sure. Jessica, just to clarify, since we have so many questions on the CD, the short-term CD interest is not taxable, right? Half a year and less, but the longer term is, or vice versa.
It's vice versa. Yeah, if it's more than 183 days, it's not taxable. But if it's less than that, that interest that you receive will be taxable.
Okay, and one of the question number 5 is for non-Ecuador sourced income.
Here we have to talk about specifics, because if you are paying taxes abroad, you will have to, when you're filing taxes here in Ecuador, you will have to put that income that you made abroad. But as I said, there are certain specifications, certain requirements that we have to go over and see if that income is taxable or not. But the law says that the income that is made abroad has to be filed here in Ecuador. So there might be a tax credit that we can use, but this is something that I like to meet with clients and talk about on a one-on-one basis, because I need to know what their situation is, and I can advise them if that income is taxable or not, because income that comes from retirement, it's tax-free. So we have to talk about what type of income it is, and then I will advise them in accordance to the law if they have or not to file income taxes here in Ecuador. I hope this clarifies and answers your question.
Thank you. And I know number 7 is more of a U.S. tax question. For U.S. IRS tax worldwide income. So even if you live here and retired and you receive rental income in the U.S., that still needs to be filed as part of your U.S. income.
Yes. Okay, so here, this one, it's the asset annex. I have had so many questions received. There was an article published about a year ago where I was talking about this, because this is not something new. Has been going on for, I think it started back in 2007. Of course, there have been some changes about who has to report and who is exempt. It's basically an annex that you have to file, but you don't have to pay taxes on it. And I always say not yet, because as you have noticed, the laws are constantly changing. So I cannot say for sure, but for now, as of now, you don't have to pay taxes on this annex. So this is a special annex that is called the asset annex. And you will have to file, the due date, it's May, but you can file before that. So I always advise my clients to do it like maybe March, April. If you have all the information, we'll just do. And it's basically all your assets that you have in Ecuador or abroad. So if you meet the requirements, that if you are single, it's 20% basic fractions right now. It's $238,000 a little over for a single person, and $476 for a couple. So if your assets combined, either in Ecuador or abroad, are over or 476,000, you have to file this. And we don't request account numbers or information like that. Some people are really careful, and we understand this is a very important, and it's a very special matter. So what we ask for is your properties, your if you have a bank account in the US, we need to know the amount that you have as of January 1st of the year we are filing. So in this year, we're filing to 2023, but we need the information as of January 1st, 2024. And then we will file, as I said, the due date is May, and we will file based on your assets. And also, if you have liabilities, we will include there too, because your net worth, it's basically your assets minus your liabilities. So all of that, it's included, and you have to report that if you meet the requirements, especially because a couple years ago there was an agreement that was signed between Ecuador and the United States, where they can share or they request information, financial and tax information. So that's something that I always say to my clients, there is this agreement, and they can, if the SRA feels like they need to know more about you, they are free to ask the United States about your information. So that's something that you may want to take into account. Yeah. Oh, and here, and the second question where it's asking me if Ecuadorian bank have the obligation to report, most of them will ensure you that they are not reporting your information to the United States. But if the United States asks for that information, they have to comply, because we have this agreement. So if they ask, they will tell. Can we please go to the next one? Okay, so sales taxes. Sales taxes is also known as the value-added tax, or IVA, here in Ecuador, and we pay on a basically daily basis. In every thing that you buy, if it's taxable. Right now, the standard rate is 12%. However, there are certain goods or services that are taxed at 0% or are tax-free. Some of these include services like health, education, and some digital services if you are into that. Something that I have to point out is that starting April 1st, this rate will go to 15%. So it's no longer 12%. You will see an increase on your purchases because it's going to be 15% starting April 1st, 2024. That's increased on all the services and goods that are currently rated at 12%, except for construction materials, which will decrease to 5% from the original 12%. So if you're thinking about building a house or doing some project that involves constructions materials, this is something that you could probably benefit from, because right now it's only going to be charged at 5% sales tax. And with sales taxes, it also comes the VAT refund, right? As many of you could be aware of, I have these services. I offer the service to a lot of my clients who are seniors, or even if they have some type of disability. The way it works is that if you are 65 years or older, you meet this, so you have this benefit. You can request this on a monthly basis. Some people will do it like on a quarter basis, depending on what you expend, right? For now, the maximum amount that you can request monthly is $110 with 40 cents, because it's based on the calculation of each year. It's based on the minimum wage plus the percentage of sales taxes. So since the sales taxes is going to go up to 15%, the amount could increase to 138, or still pending on that information from the SRA. To request this refund, it's actually very, very simple. All we have to do is request a password to your SRA account, while all the invoices are going to be stored. And then we will just request based on the activity. So we will request based on housing, on food, on health, all of these categories. We can request the refund as long as it's maximum $110 per month. So but I do have to mention something. This refund hasn't been made lately. I have some clients where the last refund they received was back in October. We don't have a final word on when they are going to start making these refunds, but what I have heard is that starting March, they are going to start refunding people with disabilities, and then probably on April, seniors. So hopefully we will see those refunds coming in either March or April. I don't know if I covered the questions for this sales tax. If not, please, JJ, let me know.
So next, Sarah is going to cover a few other important taxes, especially for the expats. Exit tax on your CDs or sale of the property here, and the property tax, business tax, household workers, digital nomad, and inheritance. Sarah?
Well, good afternoon to each of you. First, I want to say thank you because this year, 2024, I was elected the best attorney. So I want to say thank you to each of you. So I assume that many of you vote for me. So thank you for that. For me, it's an honor that you allow me to work with you. So regarding the topic that I will speak and explain you right now is about the exit tax. I have many clients who ask me these kind of questions. So we have in total 5 questions here. The first question a person asked me if tourists that arrive to Ecuador can open a bank account and can have an investment. The answer is yes, but depends with which financial institution these tourists want to open the bank account. There are banks super strict that not allow to open bank accounts to tourists. For example, Banco Pichincha only allowed to open the bank account to the residents. And if you open a bank account as a tourist, you will have some period of time to obtain your residency visa. So if you don't obtain the residency visa, they will close your bank account. And anyways, there are another financial institutions that allow to the tourists to open a bank account and open as it is. So for they can have their investments here. For example, the cooperativas, not all of them, but there are many that allow to open the bank account. Only you will need your passport, a valid passport, and an address to open the bank account in Ecuador. So for you have that information. Regarding the question from the number 2 to the number 5, these questions is about how, if when you wire money, how much will be the tax that you have to pay. Well, the first thing that you need to know is that all the people, Ecuadorian tourists, residents, must pay a tax when you wire money overseas. The tax right now is 3.5% of the total amount that you are wired. So I give you one example. If you bring money to Ecuador for your investor visa, that right now is $46,000, and you make $4,000 in interest, and you want to wire that money back to your original country, so you have to pay tax and the $50,000 that you are wired overseas. Right now, this month is 3.5%. From April 2024 will be 5%. So if you are going to wire money, it's better that you do before April. And there are 10 exceptions that avoid that people pay tax. So there are exceptions. And anyways, the exceptions are very specific for some kind of situations. I put like 3 that I consider that are most important, and I can explain you. For example, for the people who do like commercial business, commercial investments in Ecuador, you know, the money that you are wiring back to your country, that will be taxes in that money. Or the students that are studying abroad, if the family wire money, also they don't pay tax. And the non-residents, if they are here for less than 90 days, if the investment, they can take that money and out of Ecuador and don't pay tax. And again, the rest of the people must to pay tax, and in the future, 5%. Next slide.
So there's a couple other questions here. We talked about the CD money, both the principal and the interest. There's also a question, folks selling their real estate
Houses.
here. How, say if they sold a $200,000 home, how is that money taxed? Same thing as the CD?
Well, the first recommendation that I will give my clients when they are selling a house is that the perfect scenario will be that the buyer, the future buyer, will be an expat too, or a person who have a bank account overseas. So because the payment can be like wire, for example, from the United States to the United States, that would be the perfect scenario. Because if you bring money to Ecuador to purchase a house and now you are selling that property, you will have to pay tax for all the money that you are wired overseas. So even if you are losing money, so that is important that you know, and you need to pay this 5%. So will be ideal if the buyer is expat, and better if your original country or have a bank account in another outside of Ecuador, for you can pay you directly to your bank account.
So some of my friends who are either withdrawing the CD or selling the property are not in Ecuador already physically. Can they get help withdrawing?
Yes, my office take care of that situations. So when many of my clients cannot stay in Ecuador, for example, for sell their properties or for wire their money or closing their bank accounts, they give me a limit power of attorney specific for these kind of situations. And I take care to visit the bank, wire the money, and close the bank account. And of course, in that process, to pay the tax that will be applicable at that time.
I see some folks already raised their hands for some of the questions. We're going to leave time. Sounds like we may actually. Both Jessica and Sarah are doing a pretty good job running through it. We're going to do that in the end, just so that we can get through all the slides first.
So now I'm going ahead and explain you regarding the property tax. So I have a couple of questions, and which ask me if you are buying a property. So what will be the annual tax? So the first concept that each of you need to know is that when you are owner of a property, each municipality have only two type of annual tax. One that is applicable for the urban properties and the other for the rural properties. And each of the municipalities have their own regulations to apply the tax in that property. The tax that is applicable is regarding of the assessment value issued by the municipality. So the percent is really different in each city. So, but usually start from 0.25%, maximum 5%. So there is really a huge difference between city to city, between Cuenca and, for example, Salinas. So they have a different regulations. For example, in my experience, Salinas is a little more expensive than Cuenca. So about the rural properties, that in Cuenca, for example, or you need to pay the annual tax 1% of the assessment value of your property, not the commercial price, what the municipal evaluation your property. So now, in the case that you are going to buy a property, so depends who you are, if you are the buyer or the seller. But if you are the buyer, if you are buying a property that can be in the rural area or in the urban area, you always need to pay one specific tax that is called alcabala, and is 1% of the commercial value that you are paying for. So the amount of money that show in the deed. If you are buying a property for $100,000, you will pay 1%, that is $1,000. So in the case that you are the seller of a rural property, regarding capital gains, you don't pay capital gains. That show the regulation. So in the case of urban properties, in the urban properties, the seller must pay the capital gains, that is the 10% of the profit that you are making over the property. So if you buy a property of $100,000 and you are selling this property for $120,000, you have $20,000 profit, you pay 10% of that. There are some exceptions regarding the capital gains that you can use to your favor. One of these is if you are senior. If you are senior, you can receive a discount in your capital gains. So, but this depends on how many properties you have. So how many investments you have, maybe you have another property or you have some money investment in a bank. So if you have more investments, will be a less discount. If you don't have investment, only you have one property, you don't will pay capital gains. Another exception is if you own the property for a long time. Each municipality must make a discount 5% per year that you are the owner of the property. So more years you own that property, you will receive more discount. And also is a big exception in the case that you own the property for more than 30 or more years, you don't pay capital gains, even if the property is in the urban area. So that is a good thing for the people who are selling properties. I have the last questions that a person asked me is regarding if it's some difference between to buy a property as a natural person or company. Regarding to paying the annual tax, no. If you bought a property as a natural person or company, you have to pay the predio urbano, that the annual tax that the municipality designate to you. Regarding, tax declaration, that is maybe you will have some difference. So because you can use, the payment that you make for your tax. But if you bought a property in a corporation name, you cannot receive the senior discount that you should receive in the case that you own a property and you are a senior. So just for you be aware of that.
So if someone is not selling the property but just want to transfer the title to their children, so the capital gain tax will not apply, but only the 1% transfer tax?
Well, that is different. If a person wants to transfer the property to the children's, that contract is called in Ecuador donation. And yes, you don't pay capital gains in donation, but you need to pay tax for donate the property. The person who donate the property needs to pay tax, and the person who receive the property need to pay tax. We have a very specific amounts from that you need to start to pay tax, and the percent that you need to pay.
There is one part, the second part of the first question. This person apparently is in the process trying to buy a property. Besides the tax, what other do's and don'ts and financial concerns would you give them, since you do real estate purchase contract on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, the first recommendation that I will give to this person depends which kind of property they are looking to buy, but inspection will be the first, in my opinion. Depends how old is the property. If it's a brand new, I think inspection will be necessary, but with my clients, always I recommend that an inspection over the property will be good. And another expenses that the people must be aware when they are buying a property is 4 specific expenses. The first one is the tax that you need to pay. Like the one that I'm talking about is the alcabala, the 1% of the total amount that you are paying. It will show in the contract. The second payment, the second cost that will be necessary to pay is the notary fees. That depends on the amount of money that you're paying for the property. That also will show in the contract. The registered property fee, because each time that you buy a property, you do the contract at the notary. In any ways, this contract must be registered in your name, for you will be the fully owner of the property. And finally, the municipality fee, for you can change the name from the past owner to you name, so that is also an extra fee. So how you calculate the expenses? Again, depends how much you are paying for the property. With all my clients, always I advise them like with weeks or days or months before, depends when they want to do the closing, how much will be their expenses. And again, this depends a lot in which city you are buying your property. So also I received a couple questions regarding business tax. So I have a person that want to like start a company in Ecuador for export coffee. So when you want to open a company in Ecuador, the first thing that you need to know is that this will be a contract that you need to do at the notary public. So you need to select a name, you need to select the capital that you will investment. You can no investment less than $400. And you will have this company, you know, you will hire to yourself, you will start to have, it's a good idea to have a company. And anyways, my honest recommendation for this person is that if you start a business, don't start as a company, because to a company it have a lot of obligations to start a business. Maybe you can start as a natural person, just getting your work, your tax ID, and after that you can open a company. I do this recommendation basically my experience with another clients that I assist to open a company, and also with my accountant. And Jessica also says that that is a good recommendation. So regarding a small business, so in Ecuador, we have like two types of tax ID. One is the RUC and the other is like a simple tax ID that names RIMPE. That RIMPE is for the people who have a limit in their income. And I think for a startup business, that will be good, because the RIMPE, you don't need to declare tax. What you do is pay a small fee regarding your income that you receive. So, and that way, you can simplify like your business. Now, when you open your business, you have employees, that is another section of the law. So because that is not only like tax, that is also an obligations that you are forced to comply with your employees. So that is also I will speak in the next topic. So regarding any kind of employee, so in any ways, many of my clients ask me about like the people who help you in the house, and especially when these people clean. Yeah, you know, they come clean your property. Maybe it will be for 2 hours, maybe it will be for 5 hours, one time per week, 2 times per week, or one time per month, and you pay some fee to this person, and that is how you are accustomed to do that. In any ways, in Ecuador, the things works different. So when you receive the service from some person, you need to make a big difference if that person is your contractor or your employee. So if is your employee because you open a business and this person will come to work like each day with you or a specific times with you, yeah, you need to give them a work contract and all the benefits that come with that work contract, like social security that you need to pay, and also the worker need to pay, and another benefits like bonus 2 times per year, vacations, and all these rights of the employee you are forced to give. Is not optional. I want that I need to be clear with that. So if a person is coming to, for example, clean your property, clean your house, my own or any kind of employee that give you not frequently a service, my recommendation is that you speak with this person and request to this person to give you a receipt for the service that is providing. With that invoice, invoice that this person give you, you make sure that there is not labor relation between you and that person. Because if you don't receive an invoice and that person comes frequently, maybe per month, per years to your property, you are taking the risk that can be malinterpretation that that person is your employee, and you need to avoid that if that is your wish. If you want that that person will be your employee, you know what are the responsibilities that you need to take.
So this applies to those household workers as well as just employees in any small business, like small hotels or shops, right?
Yes, I will recommend the same to everybody, like from day number one, request an invoice to the person that is give you the service.
What if that person, especially a lot of the cleaning, they say they're from the countryside, campesino, they don't need the public house, and because they're already covered, I guess, by a rural version of it. Is that true? Because they don't want it.
Well, if that person has the seguro campesino, like is the kind of health insurance that the people who work in the country usually have, yeah, that is true. But you need to put in a balance, like your own interests, like because if you don't receive an invoice from this person and this person comes so frequently to your place, start to create a relation. And if this person claims that it's a labor relation, there is a very specific institution in Ecuador that protect that rights of the employees. And really, all the rights is for the employee if they want to make some claim.
So the answer is yes. Always get an invoice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So also in the questions that I have, they asked me regarding that need to pay tax any digital nomad. Well, I made so many consultations about this together with Jessica, and also I visit IRS in Ecuador. And well, what they told me is like any kind of income need to be declared. But in any ways, also they were honest with me that to tell me that there is no a law or regulations that make clear how the nomad can do these declarations. So far we don't have any kind of law, and I will say to that person, like, don't be worried now about like declare tax. So, but like, I want to be very honest with you. If you go to IRS office and you say, I'm making money overseas and I receive here, they will say, yes, you need to declare and please get a group to declare. But we don't have regulation. There's no way that you are forced to do that at this time. So also, like one of my last questions was regarding the inheritance tax. So the inheritance tax, the people who are the heirs must pay only if they comply with the minimal amount. In Ecuador, if you receive from until $75,000, you don't pay inheritance tax. But if you receive more than that, more than 75,600, you start to pay tax, and you start to pay tax from the 5%. Yeah, but you start to pay tax in that difference. So of the income that you are receiving, from the inheritance that you are receiving. So we start from 5%, and the maximum is 35%. And to declare inheritance tax, you need to submit all the paperwork. Even if you are not going to pay tax, you are forced to do that. So, and you have a maximum 180 days to declare the inheritance tax from the day that the person, that your family member, passed away. So if you don't declare on time, you have to pay a fine, and the fine will be regarding the amount of assets that you are declaring in your form in the IRS. So now, also, well, one of the last questions is regarding the ISS. Yeah, the question is, we have here the ES is based of income. The answer is yes. So depends the income, but I want to make clear the income that you are paying to the employee. Yeah, no, I don't want this be misinterpretation. That is the income that you are receiving. So for most of the expats, being enrolled in ISS is a volunteer. But if you have an employee, you must to give this person the ISS, and you as a person who give the job, you need to pay some part, and the employee must to pay their part too. So the employer and the employee. So, and what you need to pay is 9.45%. That correspond to the employer, and 11.15% to the employee. So that is the apportation that you need to give monthly to ISS. And finally, with the last question, if you need to pay Ecuadorian tax on crypto. Again, I visit the IRS, and also I spoke with Jessica, that is a CPA. And so far, Ecuador doesn't have any kind of regulation regarding crypto. So because crypto is not accepted as a payment in Ecuador. So maybe it will be in the future, but right now, again, you don't need to pay tax because we don't have any kind of regulation around that or law. Yeah, thank you.
The number 5 here, I think this person is US. The question is, if they have both income in Ecuador as well as in US, majority would be from the US. Is their payment to the IES based on their total income or the Ecuador only income?
Yeah. When you pay ISS, you need to enroll you for a specific amount. So if someone hire you, that person will pay you a salary that will be a specific salary that you will receive. For example, the $460 or maybe more. Or if you enroll volunteer, also you need to declare how much will be your salary. So the years that you need to pay your apportation will be regarding that salary. But we are talking Ecuador, so that's suppose that you're making the money here. So no, your salaries overseas.
Okay. I think that answers all the questions that we've received, at least the ones that have been submitted through the registration form. We have just about 6 minutes. So I see someone raised the question, quite a few of them. So I'm going to start to let people participate. Okay, Patrick. You can speak. Patrick, you are on mute.
Hello, sorry.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. My question is about the exit tax. I had read that under Lasso, they had lowered that to 3.5. Have they raised that again?
Yeah, hello, Patrick. Thank you for your question. Well, yes, Lasso promised to reduction the tax from 5% to 2% until December, but he left as a president and came another government. And with a new government, new laws, new dispositions. Now, our new president, that is Daniel Noboa, enforced that the tax should be 5%, and we start in April with that tax. So this month and March will be the last time that we can pay the 3.5%.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie,
Oh, hey. So yeah, my question was regarding, you said that residents of Ecuador need to report their assets from abroad if it's over a certain amount. I was curious if that applies if you're a resident but you spend less than 183 days in Ecuador.
Jessica, that's probably a question for you.
Hi. So if you are a resident of Ecuador and if you are spending less than 183 days in Ecuador, you don't meet the criteria of being a resident and filing taxes in Ecuador. However, I do recommend you filing this asset because it's not taxable. It's just a report, because the SRA, especially if you have properties or you have CDs investments here in Ecuador, I highly recommend filing this one. Because I have clients who have received notifications from the SRA, and then you have to submit documents proving that you were not in the country or proving that you don't have that, you don't meet the requirements to file this annex.
Okay. And what was the date for that again? You said May, I think?
Well, the due date is May, and it depends on your settler number, the date. But I usually recommend them filing in April or even March.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
One, Richard. Richard, you're on mute. Richard. Okay, I'll go to the next one, JL. Once I let you participate, please unmute yourself so that we can hear your questions. JL? Okay. Next one, Joe? John, you have a question?
Did you say me? I'm sorry, John.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all of my income that I'm bringing here is Social Security, but I do have some 401ks, IRAs, and investments account in the United States. I don't have an account here at all. Do I need to meet with Jessica or Sarah to see what I need to file, or how much I need to? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, John, I think definitely meet with Jessica. I also forgot to mention, Jessica is offer a 30 minutes free consultation for anyone who participated in today's call. So definitely, I don't want you to share more information than you need to, but definitely set up a meeting with her.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Great. Diana, please unmute yourself so we can hear your questions. Diana, you are on.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Fantastic. So my husband and I would be continuing to work for US-based companies. So the question is, if we get a bank account in Ecuador and transfer, let's say, a monthly budget for local bills, or is it better, I've heard, to just kind of work off of a cash and ATM? Which is the better system for that?
We've been here for a little over a year. I've seen folks doing both. And for those who are basically doing 100%, almost majority ATM, just make sure you get one of those ATM free companies like Charles Schwab and Fidelity, so you're not being add a lot of ATM fee to that.
Right. Is there a benefit to one over the other?
For me personally, we do both a little bit, just in case you need a relatively large sum other than the daily ATM limit. But that's what we hear a lot of people do. They put a few thousand just in the Ecuadorian account, and you don't have to report that as long as it's under 10,000 on the US side.
Okay, and are there preferred banks or banks that we would be that we should kind of consider over others, or ones that we should stay away from?
We probably shouldn't be talking about any of the banks here, but we are willing to talk to you one-on-one.
Fair, that's fair. Thank you. That was my question. Thank you.
No problem. JL, let me see. I think you are already.
Hi, this is Jane.
Yeah.
My question is, I want to be sure I understand about the payment for workers. If somebody works for me 3 hours a week, I still am obligated to have them to pay the Social Security and sign them up for that, even if they don't want it, unless they give me an invoice.
Hi, Jane. The answer is yes. As I told you, like the rights that employee has in Ecuador are essential. So that means that you as employer, you cannot avoid, like you cannot cancel that rights over the employee. So you will be like obligated to comply with that. So my recommendation will be that you ask the cleaning lady to give you an invoice for the money that you are paying to her. So in that way, you will be forced to comply with that kind of obligations in the future. This is only, I want to be clear, this is only to prevent problems, to prevent bad situations. As an attorney, I represent many expats that, have like this kind of relation with the cleaning ladies, because most of them are women. And they have if the person made a complaint in the labor ministry, it's a bad situation, you need to pay fine, you need to pay like expenses, legal expenses, and can be like expensive for you. So, but if you receive an invoice from this person, from the work that this person made in your property, you will avoid this kind of bad situation for yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have one last question. Richard cannot get his microphone working, but he's sending the message. For the exit tax, is it possible to withdraw, transfer a very small amount, like $1,200 over time, and through debit or to debit transfer, for example, and not pay the exit tax?
Jessica, I think it's one exception of that, but I think it's only like if you do like one time per month or for 2 times per month. So, but I think you have the exact answer.
Yes. Well, you know, you pay taxes, the exit tax when you leave, when you take the money out of the country. So there is an exempt which is equal to 3 minimum wage salaries. For 2024, the amount is $1,000, 380. So that amount it's tax exempt value, so you can take that cash out with you, especially when you're leaving the country or you're traveling. That's the amount that is tax exempt.
Great. I think that answers all the questions, and we went through all the slides. We are a little over time, but only a few minutes. As we mentioned, tax is a very personal matter, as well as all these different areas, personal income and real estate, business, hiring the employees. So for any of those that you need additional help, we've listed, of course, both Sarah and Jessica's contact information. So you can reach out and schedule a consultation needed. I'm hoping this is very helpful to all of you. And if you have any comments and suggestions, feel free to send it to our email, and we will do our best to put together similar programs and improve on it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.